All right, podcast listeners. Today on the show, I'm excited to have Tori Rosay. She's the owner of Dexter's Deli in San Diego and a true legend in natural pet care. She founded Dexter's Deli in 1996 when there were only a handful of natural pet stores in the nation, and Dexter's was the first store to bring raw food to San Diego. Dexter's has a history of making little miracles happen by offering the best in natural foods, healthy treats, fun toys, and the highest quality supplements to help your pet thrive. Each store is a neighborhood gathering place, and if you know San Diego, they have 3 locations: Carlsbad, Del Mar, and North Park. Tori has also started her own line of locally sourced raw pet food under the line Dexter's Delish, all natural dog biscuits, and fresh baked pup cakes. You can learn all about Tori at dextersdeli.com or follow Dexter's on Instagram at dexters.deli. So, Tori, welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you
to talk about my favorite subject, dogs and food.
So why don't you take a second to fill in anything I might have missed there, and we'll get right into your story and about all the good things that Dexter's does.
Well, Dexter's has been around now. This will be our 24th year being in San Diego. And so it's amazing. The industry is, the pet industry is changed a lot and grown a lot, and we've just grown right along with them. And I think that when you look at businesses to be in, I'm very fortunate. It's a passion of mine, and so I'm one of the lucky people that get to say that I'm doing what I love. And I never imagined that it would grow to 3 stores. When I opened up the Del Mar store back in 1996. I thought I would just have my little store and my little platform to talk to people about better food and better ways to care for their pets, and that I'd be closed 2 days a week and take my dogs to Dog Beach and just, walk to work. And now, it's become bigger than myself. And it's like, because people were, really wanted, good information, and they were ready for something like Dexter's Deli. So it's something that's grown.
Well, congratulations on all that, and 24 years in business and retail. That's a big success. So I'll give you a virtual internet high five here. I'm really curious about how you decided to start a natural pet food store. So can you take us back to that moment of, how you got the idea or the evolution of it?
For sure. So I have a little experience in the human side of nutrition. And so I had worked for a well-known human supplement company for years. And for about 6 years I was with them. And so I was myself was into natural health and nutrition and, doing everything I could for myself as far as learning and, trying to eat better and everything. And so we had at that time, we had a fox terrier, and he was just riddled with allergies and skin problems and the red feet. And we'd taken him to the vet, and he was on all the traditional stuff, that they give for that. He was on like a lot of prednisone, which, caused him to urinate a lot. And he was just miserable. He was just a red fireball. Mm-hmm. And I had left the company that I was with, and I'd gone back to St. Louis with my partner, and we had opened up a publishing company back there. And I was just happened to come across a book. It was Dr. Pitcairn's book. And now that he's had like 6 editions to, edits to that book. And that was like the first time that I was introduced to like that you could like heal your pets naturally with food.
And what was the name of the book?
I think it's called The Complete Guide to Holistic Health, and by Dr. Pitcairn. So that just started me on this journey of like, here I was, had never made that connection about how we feed our pets. It's like here, I was doing it all for people. And then it was like, and I loved my pets. And I was like, wow, like, it's like someone hit me on the head with a 2x4. And I was like, oh, duh. Yeah, let's try this. So, with the guidance of that book. And then I started, researching and finding other books out there, and a lot of these written by vets. So this movement of feeding your pets like real food goes back, 30, 40 years. So I found that book, and so we started doing that with our dog and making his food at home and adding some different herbal things that would help. And we ended up curing him of his skin problems. And he was like about 6 at that time, and then he ended up living to like 14.
Wow.
And so that's when it really started my journey. And then also living in St. Louis, we were there for 3 years. That's the home of Purina. And that's was about that time that they started, getting the news articles about the euthanized dogs and cats that were being put into pet food. And people were just like shocked that, it was like thinking that it was like a one-off, that sort of thing would happen. And as I started to, get into that, there's a lot of people that were working, the grassroots movement of that, and exposing the industry for those sorts of practices. And that's when I really became interested in what was really going into pet food and what was caught in it. And when I went down that road, then it just opened up this whole world for me of like, that's what's causing our pets to become sick. So, it's like garbage in, garbage out. And so that's what caused, and I just felt like I had to tell somebody. And it's like, so it just started off, and that's what I opened up Dexter's for, was it was going to be my place to start to tell, to start to educate people and tell people about what was going on. And it just like took off because people knew deep down, like they'd have already experienced it themselves with their own pets, of having pets that weren't getting better by doing the things that traditional, ways that we've been caring for our pets that they've been told to do.
Yeah, I remember, Sonny, my golden, he grew up in, I think the only food he ate his entire life was that big old green bag of Purina dog chow. And the first ingredient on there is what is or was and still is whole grain wheat, I think is the first ingredient in there. And man, I mean, I knew nothing about nutrition or anything back then. And it's just hard to believe that some of those products are.
So back in the day, though, when those, people can go and they can research the whole history of dog food, because, dry dog food was made as after the war, as a way to, save cans, right? I don't know if people know that, but it's like we needed all of our metal to go to the war. So then they started making like, well, we got to feed the dogs, so let's start making it just like in a dry form. If it was still kept in that way where they weren't trying to hide garbage in there, the byproduct of the meat industry through there, it might not be so bad. And that's the thing is that, and that's where at Dexter's now, we talk to people about, trying to build a better bowl and how to boost their bowl. And trying to find dry food that's actually clean, that's okay. And so I don't know, I just like, I've been in this for so long, I kind of like start to, digress a little bit, but it's because there's so much history, back behind it. But that's totally true. It's like maybe back, in the day it might have been okay, but now it's like, these are foods that are cheap, that literally cost pennies for large companies to make.
Yeah, they're literally the scraps of the nutrition industry. And even, I come from the supplement side. And so, when I looked around on the market when I was creating the Sonny's Forever Golden product is there was an ingredient that I kept seeing in products, mass market products, even ones that were, quote, healthy, and it was brewer's yeast. And, brewer's yeast does have some potential health benefits, but then looking a little bit more deeply, it's actually just, the byproduct, the runoff of beer production, right? So I think it goes straight from, I think in part of the supply chain, it goes straight from the Coors factory to Purina for use as a filler in products. And, again, I'm not saying that, I don't know if it qualifies as a grain or not, but it's definitely one of the ingredients we specifically chose not to include in the Sonny's line.
So that's what it gets to, like you were saying, it's like the different and the different grades, right? Of like whether it be like chicken meal or something like that, you know, like brewer's yeast. There is like the type of brewer's yeast you go to your health food store and that you buy and that has like that is beneficial. And then there's that. So it's like, but you don't know that because they're just using the same name.
Right. Yeah, there are so many tricks, label tricks and nomenclature tricks that and the, I guess, you know, the sad part of it is the regulations and the FDA and FTC, et cetera, they're supposed to work, you know, for us in this case, but often their policies are influenced by, you know, others that have different interests in the lobbying side.
Mm-hmm.
So you started talking a little bit about you know, feeding, et cetera, and products, and on your website, on your bio, you talk about Blueberry. So maybe we can walk through what does a day and or a week look like in the life of Blueberry from a nutritional and a care perspective in the Rosay household.
Well, that's a tough one because Blueberry's a little feisty, finicky terrier.
Well, I'm sure we have some listeners out there, some finicky, feisty terrier and Chihuahua.
So I have 5 pets in my household, and then my dog Dexter, who my store is named after. He was a rescue, and he was a Boston Terrier Staffy mix. And so for over 25 years, I have fed all of my pets a fresh food diet, or home cooked sort of diet. And so Blueberry eats raw food. I have to massage it a little bit with adding a little bit of freeze-dried topper sometimes on there. She's only 11 pounds, but she does eat chicken necks, and that's her favorite thing to have in the morning. And then she gets, you know, treats and things like that. I don't really myself use a lot of supplements because my animals are pretty healthy. So I occasionally will add in essential fatty acid and a multivitamin, like an herbal type of multivitamin, into their food. And I don't use any sort of flea, you know, any of those flea type of products. One is because she's so small, she's easy to wash, but we just don't have a problem in our household because I think that when you feed your pets a more natural diet, their natural immune system is able to take care of keeping, you know, those sort of pests down. So I have 3 cats, and they all eat a raw food diet, and a complete raw food diet. We don't use any dry food at all.
And so what's a favorite recipe of yours, or Blueberry's favorite recipe, other than duck necks for breakfast or chicken necks for breakfast?
Well, she likes beef, so we use like beef. Do you mean like a brand type of thing, or?
Maybe, I guess. Yeah, okay. What does her bowl look like?
I should have like a picture of it probably actually. So her bowl is just like I just rotate between brands. Like, so we have our own brand that we make, which is a local brand, and the lady who makes that food is a breeder of lamb burgers, which are like the big giant, they're like wolfhounds. And so I think she just has the business, so to help offset feeding all of those dogs. And so she makes a food for us that's only made for Dexter's. And it's more of the grind on that food is not as fine as some of like the other packaged raw foods. And so, and it's all locally sourced meats that she puts in there. The only thing that's not, we make a duck formula, and that one the duck comes from Canada. But it has all fresh veggies in there, and so Blueberry will eat that, and then we sometimes will sprinkle a little of the freeze dried on top of it. Sometimes we add goat's milk, and that's the thing is that people can look into their own refrigerators without really having to do a whole lot. And they can add, and that's the thing I think is stepping back and like taking the mystery out of feeding our dogs, like, because we've been taught to never feed your dog from the table. Don't feed your dog people food. And it's like, well, what is people food? Because if you look on the back of a bag of dog food, it says like chicken is the first ingredient, but Why am I supposed to feed it where it's been completely denatured, had all the moisture sucked out of it, and I don't really know where that chicken came from, but that's what I'm supposed to feed my dog, instead of just maybe feeding real chicken, but learning how to do it in the correct ratios that are healthy for them. And so I think that's super important.
So what would you say those correct ratios are for someone who's looking to, of course, there are a lot of resources they can consult about feeding their dog raw, but how would you suggest that someone either transition to that? And then what does, almost perfect look like from a ratio perspective? What's the breakdown of what would be in the bowl?
Well, so I think when you go, it's sourcing is like an issue for some people live in areas where they might not have a store like Dexter's Deli. And so that's where you're going to need to do a little more work and research, and like maybe follow, I'm sure you have some nice podcasts for companies, or people can learn how to do it themselves. You can follow Dr. Karen Becker on Mercola. She's like fabulous and will give you actually recipes on there to start off with. And then the other thing is to go and try to find the store that has some of these products that are already pre-made, and they're done in the correct ratios where they truly are complete. And then you can start to slowly, just like you would switch, anytime that you would switch your pet's food, you want to start off slow and adding a little bit and making sure that that it's okay for them, and that they don't get any upset stomach from it. But you can slowly start by adding in like about 20 to 25% of fresh ingredients into whatever it is that you're feeding your pets now. And that could be like cottage cheese, low-fat cottage cheese. Could be organic eggs, whether you put that in raw or uncooked, or maybe like lightly cook it. You can also just start adding in some fresh meats from home, but you want to make sure that they're low, they don't have a lot of fat on them, because we don't want our pets having like just the leftover fatty parts.
Right. So let's transition a bit into being a pet food retailer in the year 2020. So how have things changed for you in the last 24 years, specifically around the age of Amazon and other online retailers, to include how consumers are different at this stage of the game?
Well, that's a tough one, because things have definitely changed. Back when we started Dexter's, I actually pulled from my bookshelf some of the books that, here's Simon again.
Hi, Simon.
They're still out there today. And have you ever heard of this book?
Who's it by?
The Nature of Animal Healing by Dr. Martin Goldstein.
Oh, Marty Goldstein.
Marty Goldstein. So he's still out there. He's still practicing. He's one of the first really holistic vets. He's been practicing for over 40 plus years. Now he actually, I think, has his own raw food that he's selling like online. But the thing is like you have to kind of seek out like these, the information now. And now it seems to be harder for people to find, good and I think the key is to find good people that you want to follow, and really look for recipes and things like that, and not just try to just DIY it completely by just taking like little bits and pieces. That you really do have to pick a recipe and try it and follow it and know that it's complete, and not just. I think that's one of the things that we've been seeing here at a store level is there's a company that's become popular. It's called Just Food for Dogs. I don't know if you've heard of it out there where you're at. It's all about it. They've been around for a long time, and they make a lightly cooked food. And they actually have a kitchen, and now they're opening up kitchens across the country. And it's fabulous if people go in and they buy their food, and it's complete, and it's done in a ratio where it has a supplement added to it, and it might have chicken with like potatoes. I think it has some rice and things like that in it, with a vegetable, and then they're adding a supplement to it. But it's expensive. So then what people do is that we've got a lot of people coming into the store, and they're like, well, it's too expensive, so I'm just doing my own crock pot version of it. Because you can figure out kind of by almost looking through the food, like what's in it and reading the label. But then when you start investigating and you ask people questions, you're like, well, what supplement are you adding? Are you adding any calcium to it? They'll be like, well, I'm not really doing that. And it's like, so that's the part where it's like you have to, if you're going to go that route, which is fabulous, to cook at home for your pets, whether it be a lightly cooked food or to prepare a raw food, is to not skip any steps. And so you have to find where it is that, what website or what person that you want to follow, and get a book that has recipes in it. And then take the time to gather the ingredients and find your sourcing for those ingredients. And a lot of people get creative and they do it their own way. They go to their butcher, their local butcher, and they have them actually, cut the bones for their dogs. They get the chicken necks there. They might get the meat there and the organ meat there. But you just can't skip the steps. And so I think that's the biggest thing that we see on a store level, is people coming in and they've been just trying to kind of like mishmash things together. And that's where we talk about for people, is just trying to build a better bowl. And you can start off, you don't have to, it can be overwhelming for people, because it's like having the new baby in the house. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to feed my baby? And it's like, am I going to breastfeed? Do I do formula? You have to like just start somewhere. And whether you just start adding a little bit into your pet's bowl now, and then start to educate yourself, and you can move towards feeding what works for you. And that's the thing, is like we try to meet people where they're at too. They might have like 20 rescue dogs, and they're like, well, I can't feed, all raw food to all my dogs. I can't afford that. So you have to find out where people are at and where they're willing to, how far they want to go. And we have all sorts of customers that come into the store that you would never think that from all walks of life, that they're committed to feeding only a raw food diet, because they've seen the benefits.
Mm-hmm. And if you were to describe the customers who first came to your store 24 years ago and compare them to the customers now, how would they be same and or different?
I feel like when I started the store, like we were more of like the true health food store, and that was our customers, like that people were hungry. They wanted the change. Now, people, like, they hear little bits of, they see stuff on the internet, and they see, they hear about their friend at a party or whatever. And I feel like it's like harder to grab people's attention, because they want me just to give them something in a bag. They've heard about the, feeding fresh, and it's like, well, I only have 10 minutes. Tell me what I need to do. Instead, our customer 20 years ago, they were willing to kind of come to a seminar, take it almost like a class, and really educate themselves. But back then, there weren't all these brands that are available that we have now, that makes it so easy. So we're kind of like stuck in a little bit of this transition stage, where it's like, you have people, it's like a pendulum kind of thing, where you have people that are true, they're like, they're true raw feeders, and they want to make it themselves, which is totally possible, all the way, over to these brands that it's like all you have, it's almost like feeding a prepared, dry food, where it's like all you do is open up the package and take out a patty, and you thaw it, and it's complete. Mm-hmm. So it's changed in the sense is that, I feel like people, they want me to like be able to give them a consult in 5 minutes or less. And sometimes that's not possible. But at Dexter's, what we do, which is different from a lot of stores, or other stores could do this, is we have a lady who's worked with us for 16 years, and she's a holistic educator and an herbalist. And so she actually does like consults for us, for our customers. So when people have more more questions than our regular staff can answer, or they might be having an issue with their dog, they can come into the store and she can help really guide them through the different products that we offer. Mm-hmm. But those customers aren't like they used, it's not the same like how it was, it's like people were really struggling to like find it. And now I guess we've gotten here now it's here. And so it's a lot easier you can just like kind of mindlessly feed your pet a fresh food diet and not have to put a lot of thought into it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's, now that I'm like talking about it, that is like what's, I guess the plus side is that it's very readily available now.
Got it. So the market has helped to fill a gap that was there before.
Oh, huge gap. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, for listeners who aren't in the San Diego area and don't have the benefit of being able to stroll right into Dexter's Deli, but they do have a neighborhood local pet food store that isn't a big box name brand Fortune 500 company chain. What sort of things, I think we made a list of 7 or so, would you look for, or should people look for when to evaluate whether that store is at least up to your standards?
Well, I think when you walk into a store, is like, one is is it clean? Does it do they have freezers in the store? Do they have a selection of even fresh foods that you could to choose from? Do they have a supplement, like a small supplement section? What's in that supplement section that they might have? Are they trying to sell products that are just like mass produced type of products? Do they have any selection of jerky treats that are made in the U.S.? Chews that are maybe more locally made type of things. And then also like the brands that they might carry on the shelves. It's like, are they selling the big brands like, the Purinas, the Science Diets also, or do they have a selection of more, smaller brand type of dry food companies?
So on the smaller brand dry food companies, I've researched this area myself a lot. What are some of the ones that someone would find at Dexter's that are likely also sold in other parts of the country?
One of the brands that we've been that I know that's sold in other parts of the company is or other parts of the country is like one called From. That's made in Wisconsin. Pure Vita, which is a Nutrisource. That one's a good one. There's a brand called Open Farm. For people that want stuff that's like guaranteed, they're all certified to be sustainably sourced. And so that one is one that we sell. And then a brand that's popular out here, which a lot of people don't know about, is called Lotus. And we really like that one because it's a baked food and it's not used, they're not doing any extruding with it, which is, so it's a little bit of a different, cooked at a lower temperature type of food. So there's a lot of good dry foods, and we like to think of dry foods when people are using a dry food to think of it as a base. That's your base. That's like where you start off with, and then you can build off of that. And so you can even go, like when we started talking, you're like, well, my dog was on the Purine or the what was it, the puppy chow or the whatever food. Yeah, you can go with, you want to try to seek out a better dry food for sure, but you should just think of that as like, that's going to be your base. So actually From makes a food that we sell a lot when people have like a multi-dog household. It's their From Classic. And it's kind of similar to the ingredients that you're talking about, but that they're like a clean sourced ingredients. So it has like oats in it and things like, more grains in it. But you use that as the base, and then you can add in things like, a little raw food in with that, goat's milk, eggs, cottage cheese, herb, ground up, like there's like a lot of products now that are coming out that are actually like the leftovers from juicing. you know?
Hmm.
And so that's great to add to your dog's bowl because it provides a lot of enzymes and really super nutrient rich greens. So I don't know if that answered the question or not.
Yes, and there's a couple other things you mentioned. Is relying on if a store is relying on rawhide or not. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Well, I think that, yeah, so rawhide for us at Dexter's, like we don't sell any rawhide. It's like it's a cheap way to pacify your dog for giving chews. So we try to educate people on better chews, and by using like raw meaty bones and getting the right size of bone for your dog, and just pointing people in a direction that there are other ways to entertain your dog and keep your dog busy and keep for their dental health. You know, the bones are helping with that, and it's not like the myth of that dry food keeps dogs' teeth clean, and so I look for stores like that are like trying to you know, educate people and show them bring in other products that are that dogs can be you know, have you know, recreational chewing with besides rawhide, because rawhide, especially, you just don't know where rawhide's coming from. And a lot of times, I mean, I've had people that have come in and they say they give their dogs like a rawhide a day. You know, and it's like it can be very binding up. There's like, you know, arsenic in rawhide, they use bleach in rawhide. So I don't know why I put that on the list. I just think it's like, when you look for that, you want to try to see if they have other things that are going to be recreational chewing for your dogs.
And what are some of those things?
That Dexter's that we carry.
Yeah, or that one that someone could
So
look for
one of the products now that have become super popular is yak milk. Have you ever heard of that? The yak milk chews.
No.
So it's like a hard chew, and it's made from yak milk, but it's actually the dogs. The dogs can chew on that. It's like the consistency of almost an antler, so it can be harder, but it's totally digestible and okay for them to eat. We sell a lot of like tendon type of things, of course the bully sticks, and then also we have like a freezer that's just full of all different kinds of chews, whether that be turkey necks, chicken necks, different kinds of bones, lamb shanks, and you can go and get these things at your butcher too, and they can cut things that will be, you know, sized for your dog. So. And then we carry like other sort of toys that are, you know, like we teach people how to use a Kong, but not to fill your Kong with just peanut butter. You know, you can fill your Kongs with things like from you've ever heard of the Honest Kitchen, right? And so so it's just kind of rethinking about what you put into those types of toys for your dogs, that it can be healthy choices and not just like biscuits and peanut butter kind of thing.
Okay. So what are some of the no-nos, like, you know, maybe a better way to ask the question is, what does a brand have to have, and what should a brand not have if you were to stock them at Dexter's?
Transparency. So that's huge, and that's the thing that consumers should be asking for when they are thinking about a company, is how open they are about talking about where their sourcing is, where products are made, and how committed they are to that, and how open and honest they are. So I think that is huge. And a lot of these bigger companies, you don't know where stuff is made. There's not a lot of transparency with it, and so I think that's what we look for at Dexter's is, and that's what. Being a smaller retailer and being a natural retailer, it's like a lot of these products that are more holistic and natural and better for your pet come through these smaller stores. We are like the ground level for these products to be the innovative products that get to the market. So you're only going to find those usually by actually going into a store and hopefully that store is like interested in bringing in those types of products, whether that be like CBD products or treats for your pet, or alternative like treats. There's a company called Answers. They make great products, and they make like the goat milk. They make the goat cheese now. And so it's like kind of just looking for stuff that's different, that you're not going to find walking into a big retailer, because it's like they can't. The biggest thing is that when you have a more natural product, you can't mass produce it like that. There's just not the sourcing for that. So that's why you want to see what's going on in your community, in your area, whether it be at the farmer's market, who's making fresh treats or biscuits at your farmer's market, is your store bringing that stuff in? And that's when you walk into a store, it's like you want it to be kind of like a little mini health food store for your pet, and not just like that they're selling or maybe they are just, you are in an area where it's like they just have to sell everything, but you definitely want to try to like ask questions to find out which of those products are the ones that are more, sourced more, smaller sourcing.
Got it. Well, maybe I'll put myself on the spot here, and usually in episodes I do a promo for the Sunny's Forever Golden, which is the only line of supplements specially made for the unique needs of golden retrievers, named in honor of my golden Sunny. So let's say that I called up Dexter's Deli and said, hey, Tori, I'd like you to look at Sunny's. What Forever Golden, what would be some of the things that you would look for? And then we'll go right down the list, and I'll put myself on the spot. We haven't done this before.
Okay.
So people listening, so I could smoke myself here, but pretty confident in the product. It is one of a kind. So let's put me on the spot.
Well, first I would ask, where your stuff is being made.
It's made here in the U.S., actually in Miami, Florida, at a manufacturer that is also like us in the NASC preferred supplier network. So the National Animal Supplement Council, and all vendors that go through that process go through a very rigorous process for that.
Okay. And then I haven't read all the ingredients on it, but we look at to see what sort of fillers or like sugars, do you use maltodextrin in there?
No maltodextrin.
Any salt?
No salt.
Yeah. So we'd want to, because it's a chew, right?
Right. So the quote filler ingredients are sweet potato. So there's no grains, no brewer's yeast, no peas. What are some of the other typical stuff in there? No corn, no wheat. So the other ingredients are sweet potato flour, cane molasses, tapioca starch, purified water, sunflower lecithin, glycerin, natural bacon flavor, safflower oil, mixed tocopherols, sorbic acid, and vitamin C. And all the ingredients, including the actives and the inactives, the one that I just read, are non-GMO.
Yeah. Sounds great. Wonder why we don't have it at Dexter's. And then the other thing that we look at, and this is the other thing is that people should be asking is, because a lot of times you look at the ingredients and it's got all these great things, and it's like, what are the active ingredients and what is the level of the active ingredients that are in your product?
Yeah, very good question, and something that we're super passionate about is not just having, a lot of products you'll see, the biggest red flag for me is when you see a proprietary blend of ingredients, right? And so the company isn't disclosing the quantity of the active ingredient that's actually in the product. And so we list it right there, right exactly on the label, and we work with holistic vets to choose ingredients that are, specially designed to address the needs of adult and senior golden, some of the issues that come up more often than not for them. So, things like itchy skin, achy joints, needing a bolster to meet.
Can you read what those ingredients are?
Sure.
Now? Because I think it was reishi, and then.
Yeah, so we have first ingredient, chlorella powder, 500 milligrams. That's specially sourced, organic from Taiwan. Again, all these ingredients are the same type of stuff that you would find in top shelf human grade products. Manufacturers do not carry these ingredients. We specially source them. So L-taurine, or organic alfalfa leaf juice powder, green lip mussel powder, horsetail extract, BCM 95 curcumin rhizome with bioavailable oils, hawthorn leaf and flower, organic reishi mushroom, fruit body extract, and that's standardized to 20% beta glucans, and sensoryl ashwagandha, which is standardized to 10% with analytes, and organic maki berry.
Wow.
And the
So I
lowest,
was super impressed because when did you make that formula?
we made this formula within the last 9 months.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, like they've got like some really progressive stuff in there as far as like the horse, like stuff that people might not have even have heard about for, for the cancer and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it had been out longer than that.
So any red flags on your
No, I mean,
product?
I haven't looked at like what all the different low ratios are, but that sounds, I was impressed that it had the chlorella in there.
Yeah, that's the ingredient in the highest quantity there.
Yeah.
So
it's not just for Goldens though.
That's true. It was just, if we turned up the volume in certain areas for Goldens, all dogs would benefit from having some of these, more potent, powerful, healthy ingredients in their diet. But
and that's kind of what we look for at Dexter's, is like ease of being able to like, not make it too complicated for people, that they can get a product like that they would know that has like, that hits like a lot of different things, that without having to buy like 5 different kinds of supplements to get those ingredients in there.
Yeah. And a lot of the ingredients in here, it's the principles behind it that matter the most. So we're talking, anti-inflammatory ingredients, high antioxidant levels, detoxifying products, immune boosting, and a lot of these things, people can add to their dog's diet, without having to get this chew. It just is just more of a convenience type of
I think
approach.
It's a good place to start. Sometimes, so we sell like mushrooms and different and people might need a little higher dose if they're trying to do something on a therapeutic level. But as far as like a maintenance dose, or that's like a great place to start. And a lot of these products now you do see like the benefits, and it's a good place to be able to start giving your pet, and then you start to see an improvement, and then like sometimes you might want to start adding a little more of one of those ingredients into your pet's diet, especially if they're having like an issue, like if you were really trying to deal with an animal that had a condition such as cancer, then you might want to boost some of those different herbs. But that's like a great place to start.
Yeah, it's a great baseline formula. And that's, I designed it with my dog Sunny in mind, because I didn't know what took Sunny's life. Like, I went off to the military, Sunny was happy, he was healthy, and I never saw him again at Christmas. And so it was all about, what I wish I could have given Sunny back then as kind of a, overall bolstering sort of.
But I'm sure you're learning along your path too, that some of the stuff that we deal with our pets is, stuff that's beyond our control, and it has a lot to do with, with genetics and overbreeding, and unfortunately, that's another podcast.
Right. So maybe a last question here is, what would someone who's going into Dexter's, what kind of customer who's coming into Dexter's get at Dexter's, or what would you hope that they could get that they couldn't get just pushing the buy button on Amazon?
Oh man. So, we carry a lot of unique supplements that you just aren't going to be able to know what you're looking for unless you came into Dexter's and kind of got a little consult, with us, or they're just not going to be like pop up, as like the item that you need when you're shopping online. And so I think that's what customers get when they actually walk into the store. Now we have people, of course, that come in and they get their shopping list, and then they probably go buy online. But also a lot of these smaller brands aren't going to be sold like on Amazon or on in the bigger online retailers. So so that's what, that we get when you come into the store. I'm not opposed, it's like, it's a fact of life that, online shopping is here to stay. And I'm a proponent of, some of these companies that, that you can, just like we can get the food box sent to us, where you get your meal, the prepared meals and stuff. I think that's a great way, if you're able to afford that, to start looking at those types of companies. I think there's one called like the Farmer's Dog.
Yep.
Or just like the Just Food for Dog. I mean, if you can afford to do that and bring that into your home and add that to your dog's dish, you're going to be like ahead of the game. You can learn to to crock pot correctly for your dog. I think the biggest mistake that people make is they start to cheap out on the protein. And they're like start to add too much of the carbohydrates, too much potato, too much rice, because it's like they're like, well, that's getting expensive. So those are the types of things that you have to, like, when I say, like, you have to be careful when you DIY your own dog's food, but I'm totally not opposed to it, because Dexter's has survived for all this time, not because we're here trying to sell you this or that. It's like, we're here to educate, and that's what I hope that people get when they come into the store. So I actually just had a lady come in the other day. What did she want? Oh, her cat was getting greasy on his face and she wanted to know, like, what product we have. And I'm like, we have nothing. You just take a little, vinegar and a tiny bit of dish soap, and you just take a towel and you start to wipe, and it's like, sometimes it's like, and you're not going to get that online. We're here for to provide like the best, for education that we can to naturally care for your pets. And sometimes it's not going to be something that we actually sell in the store, but it's that community connection that people get, that they're part of a store they can come in and ask dumb questions, about like their dog's poop, and how it looks. I mean, we get that daily about like, people like, is my dog's poop supposed to look like this? And what does it mean if my dog's stool is encased in mucus, right? What does that mean? And so we're able to help address those sorts of questions, It's just like, kind of like when...
What does that mean?
Well, that can mean that your dog has too much yeast. It can be caused by yeast. It can be caused by, their digestion not quite being, up to where it needs to be. It's like it's a product of detoxing, that the body's trying to get rid of something. If you swallow a penny, right? If you ate a penny, your body would probably go, oh my God, alert, alert. I better encase that in mucus so I can get rid of it. And that's what the body's doing. And so sometimes when you see that a lot in dog stool, it's like, that's a sign that their diet is not like they're not on the best food. Their body's trying to like encase it and get rid of it.
Got it. All right, Tori. Well, I think this has been great. So
we talked about everything from
yeah,
all the
we
way
covered
down to the poop.
We covered a lot there, including Blueberry's diet. So before we wrap up here, anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
No, I don't think so. I just think, just keep on, keep on seeking the answers.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Tori. Tori Rosay with Dexter's Deli. You can learn all about her and Dexter's at dextersdeli.com and on Instagram at dexters.deli. And San Diego residents can find them in Carlsbad, Del Mar, and their North Park locations. So thanks so much, Tori.
Great. Thank you.